and has been in the culinary field for 22 years. My goodness. Thanks for joining us today, babe.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So, the reason I wanted to have Grant on the show was because if we flash back to COVID times, 2020, 2021. He was working at that time at Google Pittsburgh, and they had to do inclusion minutes. Am I getting that right? DEI minutes?
Yeah, I mean, so every meeting we do, we always have a safety meeting, or like we have a safety topic, and then we always had a like D&I topic as well. These were mostly during our COVID manager meetings, but then they spilled over into once we did coming back to the Google office, they spilled into our morning meetings as well.
And I was just so blown away that especially during COVID times, that y'all would take the time to do these DEI moments. And I even helped you on a couple of yours. Do you remember like what you learned from those DEI moments?
Um, yeah, so it was. I mean, obviously, coming from like a culinary world, like this stuff doesn't exist for us. It's not stuff that we talk about. We really don't have time to talk about anything other than what's being done for the day and trying to make sure it's done and out at a normal time. So yeah, for me, there's a lot of like eye-opening moments, just especially when it came to like microaggressions. That was a good one to learn. A lot more just like understanding that people are different. Nobody is the same across the board. And like some people, might struggle in certain areas. We have two people on our staff that are dyslexic. They don't like to tell us that they are. It took a while for us to find out that they were.
Mm,
So to like have to like, you know, um, retrain my brain to like not be mad at them because they can't get their stuff right and get the information I need because they're struggling with just trying to keep the letters together is something we learn too. And we also have people who have those language gaps there. We have a couple Latinos, and they didn't speak English until they got here. Now they speak English, but it's hard for them to spell properly, and we have to figure out all that information. So um, yeah, the microaggressions was a big one. The just learning that everybody's different, and those are the things that we try to bring back to our culinary team during our morning meetings, especially with no, I don't want to say that like everybody in the culinary world is uneducated, but um, we're a very interesting bunch. There's a lot of people who you know came from hard backgrounds, and they don't. This isn't stuff that they ever want to think about either, and take the time to. So they had to kind of be forced into that, and I think it did help in a lot of scenarios. I've noticed a couple guys who used to get angry quickly. Kind of like cue it back and just be like, all right, let's take a minute to breathe and actually figure out that like, oh, maybe I should explain it a different way, or like try to help this person out in a different way that's going to make them um, not just come off as an asshole. So
yeah, yeah. So inclusion are the behaviors that result in others feeling valued, respected, seen, and heard. How does inclusion show up in your kitchen?
well, I mean, for us, for me, I try to empower my team to make decisions. So we have a changing menu every single day. So there's on our hotline and breakfast, we always have new stuff coming in. I can't think of everything. So I try to implore my staff to, you know, if there's something that they're passionate about or want to do, like a breakfast item or an entree that we're doing, like if they want to do that, I'm like, sweet, thank you. Like you thought of something that I didn't have to think of today. Um, and it also kind of gives them a little bit more power to like be excited about what they're making so that we get a better end result. So if I just give them the same stuff, like if I, hand them all the recipes and say, here's what you're making, they're not gonna care that much about it. And it does show. I've seen it many a time. But when I'm talking to somebody and I'm like, hey, I'm thinking about doing pho on our grain bowl line. What do you think about that? And they're like, well, like, okay, kind of, yeah, I like that idea. And then they start to get more, like start reading up about it and learning more about it. And they're like, oh yeah, well we could do this, this, and this, I'm like, sweet, let's do it. And then I get better results in the end. So yeah, I think for me, it's more about just empowering my team, empowering them to make decisions, because we're all adults here. Like I don't need to hold everybody's hand. And on top of that, this is the career that they're going into. Like that's what they want to do. They need to have some what's the word? Pride. Like they should have some pride in what they do, even if it's not what they want to do every day. They should still be prideful of what they put out. And for the most part, I think they are. So that's how I kind of include everybody in our kitchen.
And kitchens are usually very diverse, people from a lot of different backgrounds, whether ethnic, racial, gender, sexual orientation, age. How do you, as the sous chef, manage all the different identities that are in the kitchen?
I mean, I don't know. It's hard. I feel like in the kitchens, it's always been, this is my experience with pretty much every kitchen I've been in. It's not really like who you are, what you are. It's can you do the job? And like we look at for me, I look at somebody and I don't really care, like where they're from, female, male, non-binary, binary, all that stuff. Can you do the job? So we kind of, for me, I don't know. I try to look at everybody as an equal. I have a lot of female cooks in my kitchen right now, and they're some of my best cooks. And I actually go to them more than I go to my white male cooks, because I know that I can get a better result from them, and they're more passionate about their job. And I prefer them because they can do the job better than somebody else.
Yeah.
And I think that's the same too with just like even my dishwashers. Like I have a handful of dishwashers, but there's certain ones I go to because I know they can do the job versus, skin color and all that stuff.
Have things shifted when it comes to diversity and inclusion? Like now that Google has rolled back some of their DEI policies?
That hasn't affected us yet because we're not I work for Google. I'm not a Google employee. So I'm still going off of what Restaurant Associates asks of me, and they still want and ask us to take care of, do these moments and try to get people engaged. We do, and Google itself still does that too within our staff. It's a requirement for us to do. It's 2 or 3 times a year. We do different diversity, equity, and inclusion projects. This wrapping up Black History Month, we don't always have call them chats, and they're just information that comes down from upper management and saying hey, here's a couple activities, that you can get involved with your team. And our meetings are only about 5 to 10 minutes long, but they usually are quick, easy little activities. One of my favorite activities that we did for getting to know people better, and it was asking the 3 questions. So it's tell me 3 things I would have never known about you. And that was kind of cool because there was a couple of people that I didn't know were interested in these sort of things, or it's oh shit, I like riding bikes. I didn't know you like riding bikes. Because we don't, when you're just trying to get the stuff out every day, there's not much time for chit chat and hanging out and learning all about each other.
Yeah.
So, but I haven't seen any scale back yet. We just wrapped up a women in leadership course for one of my female cooks, and she this is the second program that she's gone through, and I don't see it going away, at least not from what I've heard around the grapevine. But again, it's a pretty hostile climate right now, and we'll see.
Yeah. When it comes to inclusion in the kitchen, how have you adopted anything from being married to a DEI practitioner like myself?
Well, you do all my homework assignments, so that's good. I don't know. It's just the same thing. It's just having those conversations. Like I never would have really thought or put much effort into learning about this stuff. It wasn't for the fact that number one, I had to have these conversations, and on top of that, I go home and share with you what I learned, and you tend to lecture me and school me, and I'm just kidding. But no, like I think you. I mean, I think you do have seen my eyes open up a lot more, and been more of like an open-minded person. I think a lot of it has to do with that, and I think that's the one thing that kind of gets DE&I a bad rap is, you know, there is still value out of it, like when you get to think about something in a different way, but you can't do that without having the conversations or like the activities and stuff like that. If you just keep like if I were to just go up there and just read off a piece of paper every day, it wouldn't mean anything. But the fact that we did a lot more activities back in the day. We had a lot more time then too. So, but we gotten busier, which has been harder to do these type of things. But yeah, we back in the day we used to do a lot more activities, and getting all of our teams together and breaking off into separate groups, and it just got them thinking. I think that's
for other chefs out there that want to lead a more inclusive kitchen, what advice, recommendation would you give to them?
I think one of the best things I learned about is this like morning meeting thing that we do. And it's not, most of it is, bringing information down from up above. And then also relaying like, caterings and all that stuff. But these meetings happen all the time in kitchens and in front of the house too. Like, and when I was the server, I'd be in the restaurant every day. We had to go to the board and say like, all right, would you read off our specials and all this other stuff? But you can add little bits and pieces in there and just be like, when you have that meeting, just be like, hey, what do you think about this? And just have a quick conversation. It only takes 5 minutes. What's an extra 5 minutes on an hour when you guys aren't doing anything anyways, but rolling silverware? Or in the back of the kitchen, we're just like, it would only take a couple of minutes to just think about those things. And also just to express, like, for me, just everybody's different. And you guys can't just continue to lose your stuff just because you think your feelings are getting hurt. I think that's the big one. I think that every kitchen can do just a little bit. It's not hard, and it doesn't take much time. I remember when we first started doing it, I was fighting back just because I didn't want to do anything new. And it's a new thing, but it's just life. You just got to get over it.
Any other thoughts on like just what you've learned in general about DEI and how you apply it to your work?
Yeah, I mean, I think I just said it before, is just try not to like when it comes to hiring, like I'm going to hire the best cook, and I don't really care, sorry, where am I going with this? Sorry about that. Can you repeat the question?
Yes. Any final thoughts on, what you've learned about DEI from me and how you apply it to your job?
Yeah, I think just treating everybody as an equal, like, and especially just learning more about your team, finding out like how to help them and like guide them in the right path where they can be efficient at their work, happy with their work, and also understanding that like it's a team, not an individual. And I think we have a lot of people who are really hot headed, and like they feel like their feelings are getting hurt. They are quick to snap, and just bringing them back down to reality of just like, hey, I'm sorry you're feeling this way. Let's take a look at it from like the bigger picture and see um, like what's really going on. Is somebody having a bad day, and that bad day is now latched onto you having a bad day. It's how can you work together in an environment where you might not like somebody? You don't get to pick your coworkers, so it's just oh shit, sorry. Yeah, so just being more open-minded and accepting of everybody's differences.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, you're welcome.
You did have a choice in the matter.
I know. I know I did.
Well, your cooks are lucky to have you, and thank you for everything you do to help them be better humans at work.
Yeah, sometimes I wish I could see it outside of here to see if it actually is working.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I bring it outside of work. I feel like I bring it into my other jobs that I've had.
Mm-hmm.
But it'd be nice to see if it actually works on the outside. And that's where you come in to get the data.
There you go.
Just
There
not
you
here.
go.